I should feel wonderful tonight since I was named Playmate of the Month today. Not only was Dean Martin a Rat Pack legend, he broke hearts smoothest in Hollywood. He sang with a whiskey on stage, enchanting millions with his lazy grin. His life off stage was a roller coaster of ladies, late nights, and familial ties that weren't always spectacular. 6 girlfriends, 8 children, and tangled love stories followed him everywhere. What became to his bedmates? And his fame-shadowed children? After Dean, did his lovers find love, or were they forever connected to Dino? What about his kids? Did they inherit their father's showmanship, or did his name weigh them down? Please join us for the details. Elizabeth Betty McDonald. Dean Martin's first marriage was a result of his early showbiz career. Years when he struggled to fit in smoky Ohio nightclubs and rundown Pennsylvania pubs. He was a gorgeous Steubenville boy with a velvet voice chasing a pipe dream before becoming the king of cool. He met Betty, the first Mrs. Dean Martin, a fellow singer, in the midst of all that hustle. The plot read like a nice love story. Dean wasn't Hollywood's smoothest heartbreaker when they married in October 1941. Still looking for work, he barely survived. Betty, a young small-town woman who believed in her man's potential long before the world noticed him, provided stability. They had 4 children, Craig, Claudia, Gail, and Deanna, in a wonderful family, who made their home look like a nice, all-American one from a couple before fame. Fame, though, alters everything. Dean's fame grew rapidly in the late 1940s. He and Jerry Lewis were set to become America's hottest comic duo. Dean became no longer a hungry crooner, a celebrity on the go. Betty was devastated by that change. She stayed home with 4 kids in a failing marriage. Their domestic gossip was ugly. Betty was reportedly a heavy drinker. Betty was struggling with her addiction and family while Dean was basking in his celebrity and ladies. They became further distant till they had nothing left. In 1949, the marriage ended. The divorce astonished others because Dean had adjusted so quickly, but also because of what followed. Dean got all 4 kids. In the late 1940s, courts almost invariably sided with the mother, therefore that was rare. The fact that Dean got custody speaks volumes. It claimed Betty's drinking had made her unfit. One woman who had a chance to live a regular life with a century-class entertainer was heartbroken. After that, Betty's story got worse. After the divorce, she never recovered. Dean's fame grew as her drinking increased. Betty fell further into the shadows with a new wife, home, and hectic lifestyle. She died at 47 in 1966. A devastating finish to a young woman's faith in a man who would one day belong to the world. Dean had completely transformed himself. He remarried Jean Beager and lived like Hollywood aristocracy. The lavish life continued. The movies kept rolling and the stages filled. The woman who supported him in his hard times became a footnote. Dean and Betty were small-town dreamers trying to marry. Fame, addiction, and distance destroyed it. He left with 4 kids and a booming job. Her life fell apart till it ended too soon. Their love story ended up being one of Dean's bittersweetest, a reminder that stardom can throw a long, terrible shadow. Beager, Dorothy Jean. Dean Martin's longest marriage to Dorothy Jean Beager was also his most luxurious, complex, and defining. Dean met them in 1949 after ending his first marriage to Betty McDonald. An iconic tall blonde beauty from Coral Gables, Florida, Jean had modeled and carried herself like a Hollywood star. Jean was great for a rising star. They immediately connected. Before the year ended, they married. The timing was Hollywood magic. Dean was partnering with Jerry Lewis more and more. And with Jean on his arm, he looked like a dashing leader. Smooth tuxedos, a relaxed smile, and a statuesque wife made him look grounded and unbeatable. Jean was more than a wife. She was brand-related. They fueled public belief in Dean as the king of cool. Besides style, they had a family. Jean had Dean Paul, Ricci, and Gina in 1951, 1953, and 1956. Martin seemed to have everything for a while. Jean played hostess to Rat Pack royalty as a Hollywood wife, giving their home the excitement only Vegas icons and movie stars could. Outside, they were invincible. A Hollywood couple made 24 years of marriage appear easy while others burned through marriages like cigarettes. But spotlights always cast shadows. Dean was the epitome of Vegas and never settled. Late nights, unending gambling, whiskey-soaked concerts, and women lining up to be near him. It was lifestyle. Powerful, graceful, and devoted, yet she craved something Dean wasn't wired to offer: stability. Over time, their golden couple image deteriorated. Jean's forbearance waned as Dean's habits continued. Even after 2 decades of Hollywood turbulence, their marriage collapsed in the early 1970s. Dean divorced after 24 years in 1973. If the separation wasn't devastating enough, what followed shocked everyone. Dean marries 26-year-old receptionist Catherine Hahn weeks later. The recovery was swift and thoughtless. Jean never lost her dignity in public, but her friends said this hurt. After giving him the best years of her life, seeing him marry someone younger must have been cruel. Remained in Dean's life. Their children and years together kept her in his world. After the divorce, they remained close. Jean and Dean grieved together after their 35-year-old son, Dean Paul, perished in a plane disaster in 1987. One of those moments when prior chaos didn't matter. Two parents grieving a kid, united by an indescribable agony, was there again to grieve Dean's 1995 death with the family. Jean was there during his golden years, through heartbreak, infidelity, and mayhem, yet she never left his tale. There was love, children, and Hollywood's golden age in their marriage. But it had fissures that charm and brilliance couldn't fix. Although Dean's lifestyle kept them apart, Jean remained one of his most important women. If Betty was his suffering girl, Jean was the lady who stood behind him at his peak, making Dean Martin appear and feel like a star. Hahn, Catherine. Dean Martin's brief, glamorous engagement with Catherine May Hahn was doomed from the start. His affair with Catherine was a fever dream compared to his dazzling marriage to Jean Beager. It was luxurious and intoxicating, yet unsustainable. By the early 1970s, Dean had left Jean after 24 years. His divorce papers were hardly dry when he startled Hollywood with an unexpected move. Dean married Catherine Hahn, aged 55, in April 1973. 26-year-old Beverly Hills hair salon receptionist. The roughly 30-year age disparity was stunning, but its pace grabbed headlines. Jean barely disappeared, and Dean was arm in arm with a young blonde who looked like she'd stepped off a movie set. And what a wedding it was. This wasn't a quiet Vegas affair. Dean went all out, spending $50,000, $100,000. In the 1970s, the figure was astonishing, like a Rat Pack fantasy. She didn't remarry publicly or capitalize on the Martin name. She went into privacy. In a world where most Rat Pack contacts sought notoriety, Catherine's silence was mysterious. After Dean's divorce from Jean, Catherine Hahn is his ultimate rebound, a lovely youthful distraction. The wedding was one of Hollywood's most glamorous, but it was constructed on time and show. Catherine's journey through Dean Martin's fame was dizzying. Dean saw that even legends may act rashly when restless. 3 years later, it was gone. Dean resumed his old routines. Catherine chose the tranquil life, and their brief relationship became another chapter in Dean Martin's long love and heartbreak with Gail Renshaw. Dean Martin's sensational and spectacular romance in the late 1960s captivated. She was Gail Renshaw, Miss World USA 1969 winner and stunning beauty queen. She was Miss Virginia before that, and she looked like the American dream, fresh-faced, statuesque, and lovely. Dean, Hollywood royalty by then, looked to Gail to stop traffic, and she did. The romance sparked media interest. Dean was married to second wife Jean Beager, his partner of over 2 decades. Everyone knew their marriage had been tumultuous for years, and Gail's arrival only heightened their precarious situation. Dean, never one to resist temptation, was enchanted. He flaunted Gail, ignoring his marriage, age, and controversy. It was her 20s. He was nearing 50. Dean Martin didn't appear to mind the age discrepancy, which raised eyebrows. The crooner appeared to have found love. Dean and Gail's engagement sparked gossip columns about the Rat Pack King and the Beauty Queen Bride. A headline-grabbing story. America's favorite playboy marrying a Hollywood princess-like pageant queen. But beyond the gleaming veneer, things weren't great. The young, idealistic Gail was too traditional for Dean's world. She wanted a stable house, family, and a tranquil life based on her values and religion. Dean, however, embodied Vegas, late nights, and pandemonium. The mismatch became more apparent with time. Finally, Gail ended it. The age gap and pressure of being tied to such a big star were said to be too much for her. Others whispered that her faith led her to struggle to reconcile her conservative views with life with Dean Martin. Whatever the cause, the engagement ended before the altar. Dean's marriage to Jean terminated in 1973, but his affair with Gail was over. He had fresh loves and scandals, while Gail graciously left Hollywood. She didn't try to turn her 15 minutes into a profession like many Dean acquaintances. She completely disappeared from the spotlight. An intriguing addendum to her narrative was her brief but headline-making romance with a global superstar. Dean Martin did not stay unmarried long following his divorce from Kathryn Hahn, according to his official biography. Elegant model, actress, and lifelong friend Patricia and Sheehan enters, who briefly became more than a nearby acquaintance. Patricia was perfect for a man who seemed to always be with a beautiful woman. Patricia, aka Pat Sheehan, wasn't just another Hollywood beauty. She was one of the most gorgeous women of the 1950s and 60s, born in San Francisco. October 1958 Playboy Playmate of the Month, a title that launched her career and made her one of the magazine's golden beauties. Men like Dean were captivated by her blonde bombshell appearance and hourglass physique. But Patricia was more than a model. She tried acting in small roles in television and cinema, frequently as sexy eye candy who could light up a scene without speaking. She moved easily in Hollywood. She appeared with superstars, directors, and producers who recognized her unusual talent. Before she met Dean romantically, they were longtime friends. Their brief connection changed due to familiarity. It was more than a run with a Vegas showgirl. Patricia knew Dean and Dean knew Patricia. Even in a beautiful town, her work, personality, and charm set her apart. Unfortunately, their love never lasted. Like many women Dean had dated, she was torn between being with one of the world's biggest entertainers and his lifestyle. They had a brief affair that ended, leaving only rumors of what could have been. Still, her role in his story matters. Sheehan wasn't a casual girlfriend. She was Dean's Hollywood counterpart. Beautiful, admired, and destined to be remembered for a time when stars lived big and loved fast. Inger Stevens. Stevens had a pattern. She always liked her co-stars. She didn't stumble when she met Dean Martin. She fell headfirst. In the 1968 Western Mystery 5-card stud, Dean played suave gunman Van Morgan, and Inger played mysterious saloon singer Lily Langford, who has her own secrets. Their on-screen romance continued after the cameras stopped filming, according to witnesses. In The Farmer's Daughter, biographer William T. Patterson summarized actress Inger Stevens' history. Inger and Dean had a full-blown affair on set. Inger reportedly moved into a nearby leased property during production to help her and Dean maintain their romance after long days on set. According to all reports, the two didn't stop after the credits. 5-card studs later, they still saw each other. Explains how their affair went beyond studio banter. This connection was regularly highlighted in biographical digests. Lipstick Alley and archival blogs show a pattern. Inger was notorious for her weakness for leaders. Fascinate describes her love life as a series of behind-the-scenes romances since she always loved her co-stars. Dean Martin followed suit. Her kind of guy. Their passion, briefness, and mystery made it a classic Hollywood romance. Not sure how it finished. It wasn't her last co-star affair. Her reputation as a woman who bridged screen fantasy and off-screen reality persisted until her 1970 sad death. What became of Dean Martin's 8 kids? Dean Martin has a colorful personal life and profession. Behind the wildness and velvet crooning was a father raising a huge, colorful family. Dean has 8 children over 3 marriages, each following their own career, although often shadowing their famed father. Dean had his first child, Craig, on June 29, 1942, with Elizabeth Betty McDonald. Before his parents divorced in 1949, his childhood was calm and free from Hollywood. When Dean took custody of Craig and his 3 siblings aged 7, his life changed. Jean Beager, Dean's second wife, raised them and stabilized their celebrity-filled world. Followed his father into showbiz, but loved film. He became Dean Martin's production coordinator in the late 1960s and eventually production supervisor and associate producer. He appeared on Shauna Na in the 1970s. He met Carol Costello, daughter of comedian Lou Costello, there. Their marriage was peaceful until March 1987, when tragedy struck. 8 days after Craig's younger brother Dean Paul's plane crash, Carroll died of a stroke at 48. Back-to-back punches shattered him. Craig has lived privately since. In 2022, his sister Dina publicly honored his 80th birthday, calling him her sweet brother in an online family photo. Claudia was born March 16, 1944, 2 years after Craig. Claudia craved attention, unlike her brother. She debuted in the 1956 Jerry Lewis Dean Martin comedy Hollywood or Bust as a child. In the 1960s, she appeared in teen comedies like For Those Who Think Young and The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini. With My Three Sons and Donna Reed show guest appearances. Claudia had a busy personal life and acting career. Her 1969 marriage to actor Keel Martin produced Jessie, their daughter, before their 2-year divorce. After 3 additional marriages, she settled in Reno, Nevada, with Jim Roberts, where they established a printing business. Claudia remained anonymous until her 2001 death at 56. Breast cancer survivor Gail Barbara arrived on April 11, 1945. Hollywood royalty surrounds Gail, Dean's middle daughter from his first marriage. Liza Minnelli was her childhood best friend. Frank Sinatra was Uncle Frank, and she babysat Jamie Lee Curtis. Gail told Vanity Fair decades later that being Dean's daughter was normal. People asked her what it was like, and she merely answered, "Compared to what? I always was." Gail briefly sang, opening for her father in Las Vegas, but chose family. At 23, she married famed attorney Paul Polina, nearly twice her age, in 1968. They had Cappy and Liza after marrying in Dean's Beverly Hills backyard. Marriage ended in divorce. In 1999, Gail married journalist Mike Downey. Her current residence is Rancho Mirage, California. Deanna, Dean's youngest of 4 children, was born August 19, 1948. Dean performed with Jerry Lewis at Slapsy Maxie's nightclub in Los Angeles, missing her birth. Growing up with the Rat Pack as extended family motivated Deanna to act. She studied dance, piano, and theater. Frequent Dean Martin guest. She later appeared in Young Billy Young and Strangers at Sunrise. Her passion was singing. Since the 2000s, Dina has released 5 albums, starting with Memories Are Made of This, which featured her own versions of her father's songs including That's a Moray and Everybody Loves Somebody. Dina Sings Dino, and Homage to Dean, was performed in Las Vegas and Steubenville, Ohio, on his 100th birthday. Dina wrote a 2004 best-selling memoir, Memories Are Made. Dean Martin's daughter's perspective. She often expresses her thanks for her father's delight and vows to honor his legacy. Dina married film and music producer John Griffith in 1990 and rekindled their vows 25 years later. Dean's second marriage to Jean Beager produced 3 more children, starting with Dean Paul Jr. on November 17, 1951. Dino Jr. became the family's golden boy. He was charming and multi-talented, playing professional tennis, fronting Dino, Desi, and Billy with Daisy Arnaz Jr. and Billy Hinchy, and nominated for a Golden Globe for Players in 1979. Dino's restlessness led him to several fields: football, racing, and pre-med homework. Aviation was his top interest. His father was proud when he joined an Air National Guard jet pilot in 1981. Dean said his son was a wonderful guy who wasn't sure what he wanted to be, but he was proud. After marrying Olivia Hussey, with whom he had a son, Alexander, Dino Jr. married Dorothy Hamill, an Olympic figure skater. Both divorced. His jet crashed in California on a training flight on March 21, 1987. His age was 35. The loss saddened Dean, who never recovered. Richie, born September 20, 1953, followed. Richie's passion for music led him to rock and pop. He released Beached in collaboration with Carl Wilson of the Beach Boys in 1977 and had a little hit with Stop Look Around. Richie, Desi, and Billy, a new trio featuring Arnaz Jr. and Hinch, performed in the 1990s to remember his late brother. Richie's 2002 memoir, That's Amore A Son Remembers, revealed Martin family life. He remembered John Lennon attending his 21st birthday party, Elton John, Elizabeth Taylor, David Bowie. Richie and Annie Rasmussen had 3 kids, Pepper Montana and Rio. Richie, 62, was found dead at home in August 2016. She called him one of the sweetest people she had ever known, and she will miss his generosity and love forever. Dean and Jean's youngest, Gina, was born December 20th, 1956. She was less well-known than her siblings. However, she featured on a Dean Martin Christmas episode as a child and had a brief role in Action Family. After dating Carl Wilson of the Beach Boys for years, Gina married him in 1987. In a year marked by Dean Paul's death, Richie remembered their wedding as a rare delight. Gina stayed with Wilson until his 1998 lung cancer death. Dean adopted Catherine's daughter Sasha in 1973 after his third marriage to Catherine Hahn. Richie later said that they never considered Sasha a step-sibling. They were one family after 3 marriages and 8 children. After Guiding Light, Sasha played Howard Stern's daughter in private parts. Hollywood royalty life is chaotic and heartbreaking for the Martin children. Each carried elements of their father through music, performance, and being Dino's offspring. They had extraordinary lives, and for better or worse, they are part of the guy who sung that everyone loves somebody sometime. Your thoughts on Dean Martin's kids? Leave your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also click the next video you'll like.